asking me, just sort of giving me a heads up this was happening. So the idea that people didn't know is ridiculous. They're journalists I trust.
Yeah.
I will say the president's actions have consequences. And when you repeatedly are attacking my father and war heroes, it creates a culture in the military where people are clearly fearful to show, my father's name in one way or another. And that, I think, is what has started this chain of events and actions.
They're
and
afraid
I think,
of Trump?
Well, I think if you're afraid to have a U.S. McCain hat or show the banner on the warship, which, by the way, is named after my grandfather and great-grandfather, who were the very first four-star admirals in the Navy, and both integral in ending World War II and the Vietnam War. Thank you. You're putting people in the military in horrific situations because they're fearful of their jobs. If, God forbid, you're a sailor on this ship, you think there's going to be some kind of retribution. And I think it's horrible. I think it's bad for Americans. And I think we really have to look at the kind of culture that's being put in place. I don't blame the people in the military. I have nothing but respect for people who serve. Just putting a note on this, there's a lot of criticism towards me in the media across the board of how often I speak of my father, how I grieve, how I do it publicly, but it's impossible to go through the grief process when my father, who's been dead 10 months, is constantly in the news cycle because the president is so obsessed with the fact that he's never going to be a great man like he was.
Yeah.
So it actually is why. So, thank you. It's a bizarre way to do this. It's a bizarre way to grieve. It's a bizarre way to say goodbye to my dad because it's so omnipresent in politics and not in a way like we're honoring him in the way that you're weaponizing his legacy in the way that you want. So I just want to say that please have a little more compassion. This is very hard. I try and put on a game face every day, and I try and be as stoic as possible, but grief is tricky, and I'm still sad, and I'm sorry if 9 months in, it's not enough for people for me to move on. But when Trump is doing this, it makes it this much more complicated.
But here's the